And we are live. I'm live here, Donnie, Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m., Innovation Fika, episode 131 episodes of my Wednesday afternoon live show. Every Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m., Swedish, I go live with the world's fastest half an hour where I, Donnie, get to interview super interesting people about super interesting things. And please have a look at the recordings of previous Fikas. Fika, of course, is coffee break in Swedish. Previous Fika recordings are all on YouTube. 130 episodes to today's date. And most of my writings that I write quite a lot, often as well, are on Medium. I'm going to move that into a homepage. So soon you'll be able to access my new homepage, my new webpage, donnie.com, and find all of the both the articles and the things I write there and my blog there, and also the videos as well. That's about that. That's about me. As you come online, all of you live viewers, I mean, this is a live show, so we get live interaction. As you come online and go live, please add in the comments who you are, where you're from, and we can also get the networking and all of the discussion started. And I hope to see as many of you as possible online live today. So with that, without further ado, as they say, I will invite today's super interesting guest into the studio. I will say hello and welcome to Andre Holzapfel.
Hello, hi Donnie.
Hi, was that a correct enough pronunciation? I hope.
That sounded almost German to me.
Thank you. You are too kind, sir. You're too kind. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to Innovation Fika, the world's fastest half an hour, where we will be talking about lots of interesting things. The topic of today was all about AI and the implications of that when we're using it for creative applications. But first, Andre, I will ask you the same question that I ask all of my guests. Andre, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Andre Holzapfel and I am an associate professor at KTH. And I work with media technology. So my background is a little bit in computer science and then also in musicology. So I'm a little bit between the technical stuff and the humanities stuff. And well, for that reason, maybe I ended up doing many things that are not strictly development of technology, but more tools in order to understand what we do with technology. For example, to explore ethics of ethical implications of technology that we develop, or to have a look at, to understand legal frameworks in which we are working when we develop technology. Yeah, and all that very much in relation to music and the creation of music, or more generally arts. So I'm very interested in creativity.
But did you come in it? Now, the introduction of the guests, that always spurs a question, but this directly spurs the question. But how did you, the music part? Are you a musician? Have you been a musician your life as well, or is it an interest in music? And what was it like? Sort of made that the convergence of the different.
Well, I wasn't born with a guitar, but I started a few years afterwards. So that was when I was 14. I started playing guitar in some bands after my parents wanted to make me play when I was younger. That didn't quite work out, but then I found the right people to play in a band, and then it was fun. And well, since then I didn't stop basically, and I did a lot of research on Greek music as a musicologist. And for that reason, or in that context, I'm also playing Greek music. So I play rebetiko, which is one style of Greek music, on the guitar. And I play Cretan traditional music, so from the island of Crete, where I play actually a Cretan lute. Now for the last 10-ish years, I'm playing that instrument as well. Yeah, wow. So a lot of music and dance, of course.
And dance, of course.
Yes, of course. I mean, music without dance in Greece is like.
I know.
I don't know.
I know. I'm half Greek, so.
Yeah, I guess that from your name, yes. So I mean, music without dance is in Greece would be like a semla without cream in Sweden, right? That's a bit...
Yes, I know. I mean, I've grown up in a house where the music comes on, everybody starts dancing, and then my poor mother trying to defend the plates in the not breaking any more plates this time, and trying to buy cheap plates so they can throw plates and dance and jump around.
Yeah.
Crazy days. Anyway, so coming back to some kind of topic here, but this is really cool. So, but then you play the bouzouki as well, or what? What kind of instruments?
No, I don't play the bouzouki because I play the guitar, and the bouzouki player is then the other person in that traditional duo, and I do the guitar part.
Okay. So what do bouzouki players and guitar players think of each other?
Well, I mean, it's a necessary partnership, right? I mean, and in these partnerships, I mean, you have a critical stance that you don't always reveal or only reveal to the extent where it doesn't harm the partnership.
Yeah, very diplomatic answer. Thank you for that. You gave a very, very interesting TEDx talk at TEDx KTH a couple of weeks ago, where you talked about political and socio-economical implications of AI and creativity, and it was like an overview of things that we're seeing and I thought it was fascinating to listen to you.
Thank you.
Completely mind-blowing. It was so interesting, and I thought we'd touch on a couple of things that you mentioned. And to start with, we've kind of talked about it before, but I don't feel that we're addressing it enough, and that's the environmental impact of all of these enormous amounts of data that is being shuffled back and fro, and especially when it comes to AI, when we're sort of just increasing the amount of data that needs to be churned in these bigger and bigger machines and machine parks, is a very, very demanding thing when it comes to things like electricity and other kinds of climate impact. Could you just give us a brief sort of intro into that sort of subject?
Yeah, well, I can try. So it's like when we use artificial intelligence nowadays to create images or music, this is usually some algorithm that involves a lot of numbers. And these numbers, in order for the algorithm to work properly, have to be adjusted in the right way. And that works by showing to the algorithm a big bunch of data. So that is called training. And since nowadays models like DALL-E for images, for example, they look so amazing. Why do they look so amazing? Because they have a huge amount of parameters that have been adjusted on a huge amount of data. So, and that has been shown that it takes really significant amounts of energy to train these algorithms. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that we want to use these algorithms in order to create a new image. So, and that stage is then compared to the training that has happened before. That stage is called inference technically. So that each time we generate an image, a machine learning engineer would say we're doing an inference with that algorithm in order to get something out of it. That takes less energy than the training, but the problem is, of course, if you have millions of users doing that, it accumulates to something that is significant as well. So, and the orders of that, the demand of energy is not quite well understood, I would say. The only thing that we know right now is that the carbon footprint of the IT industry is on a steady rise. It's going up significantly. And we actually do not really know how much of that, how much impact does in that footprint the actual training and inference of all these AI algorithms in various application areas. How is the imprint of that actually? We don't really know because also the companies do not really help us here by revealing facts, because I assume that they are also not internally really monitoring the energy consumption of what they're doing exactly, right?
I mean, we came to a point where everybody at least understood and agreed upon that Bitcoin mining was incredibly energy intense and cost a lot of energy. And I mean, all of these stories we heard about people with more or less legal Bitcoin mines with hundreds of CPUs, and they were like draining the grid with all of the energy. But I think that that was something I think that we talk and have talked about, but I don't think that we've addressed the complexity and the enormosity of the AI models. Because as you say, even though if you look at Midjourney, where you see thousands of people that's creating image on image on image on image, I mean that's like that, and that's going on 24/7 all the time. I mean, it must take an enormous amount of energy from somewhere, of course.
Well, and each of these individual steps, maybe not. I mean, some students of me have tested that stuff, and you arrive at something like maybe the energy you need for toasting a bread or something. But I mean, if millions of people are toasting their breads, I mean, it gets to something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you did an interesting analogy comparison when you did sort of the miles around, driving a car from Stockholm to Malmö thing of when it came to equivalence of creating either music or images and things. And I think that it's one thing that I've learned is that just because we get more powerful computers doesn't mean that we leave it at that. It just means that we create more power hungry applications, which means that we need more power hungry. I mean, every time we create something more powerful to compute, we have a tendency of creating, hitting the ceiling very quickly of what it can take with the applications that we put in it. So
that's a well-known effect, in all kinds of studies. When you offer people new roads in order to have more space for driving, then people will drive more cars and so on and so on. And that holds for all kinds of phenomena, unless there's a really sincere change in behavior. Yeah.
So you're saying that if we're going to we should offer people, like in Gothenburg and on the west coast of Sweden, they're doing the opposite. They're offering people fewer roads. I can tell you that it's the worst place in the world to drive a car. And every time I'm in that city, it feels like they are intentionally making it hard for me as a person in a car to navigate, because it's hopeless. But obviously they're succeeding because nobody takes the car ever again to the center of town. So anyway, coming back to the AI though. So the energy consumption is one thing that yes. So the question is, do you think that we should be talking more about it, as in the climate footprint of AI models? Should it be a discussion?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it should be, for example, it is not such a complicated demand from the user side to say, okay, if I want to use this or that, I want to know roughly how much energy that actually took. If I use that service, that I get some kind of feedback, some kind of information that, well, right now I was only waiting for a slot somewhere, so actually nothing was computed. Or actually, I was sitting 5 minutes there while GPUs or some GPUs were computing something for me, and that took quite an amount of energy. I mean, if you're sitting on the screen, you actually don't know. And we don't have, since all these tools are kind of encapsulated within the platforms of larger corporations usually. I mean, we have no means to access that if we don't demand it and the companies don't provide it to us, right?
But that's the second thing I wanted to touch on during this conversation, was because now you're saying that most of these models are encapsulated in more or less closed rooms at large companies, and that's another thing when it comes to the technologies that we are developing now aren't it might be perceived as it's democratizing it for everyone, but we risk. I remember from your talk as well, you were mentioning that we risk making it into a very privileged elite thing to be able to use this as well.
Yeah, I mean that's very possible to happen because you cannot provide globally on a global scale to everybody access to very powerful generative AI models. That is a total no-go energy-wise. I mean, it's not possible.
And they want to make money.
I
mean, the whole meltdown with OpenAI. OpenAI a couple of weeks ago. As far as we have been let to understand, it was a conflict between the non-profit side and the commercial side, where the commercial side seems to have come out winning, as in we need to make money on these models. And if that would then mean that they're heading into and I'm just speculating now, because I pay for ChatGPT Pro, for instance. I pay what, $20 a month or whatever it is, and it supposedly is supposed to give me faster computer power. It's supposed to be better, but I'm paying for it. But that's not something that everybody everywhere can pay. And as the models get more complicated, and as the companies also feel the need to make more money, which they always do, that gap might also become larger, right? When it comes to offering things for free and offering things for pay, which we're already seeing, right?
Well, I mean, it's also like a question is if there is a larger awareness from the side of the users of the energy consumption of all these things, maybe also the companies would finally diversify their evaluation metrics in terms of not having a look at, this image really looks even a little bit better. It took 10 times the energy, but we don't care. But maybe rather saying, okay, we take a combination of metrics into account. For example, okay, this model uses significantly less energy and looks a little bit worse, but I mean, that's in the end, that's maybe better. So, but that's not what is happening, right?
No.
We're just paying $20 for the service, and we are happy about the quality, because we are the company that doesn't reveal these things really, right?
But when it comes to implications because you talked about creativity as well before, when it comes to actual implications on creativity as well, I mean, one side, I'm making it into a two-sided argument here. I know it's not black and white; it's a gray thing. But one side says, but now anybody can create anything, because all I need to do is think and have an idea, and then the machine will create the music or whatever for me. And then the other side says, but what happens to human creativity then when we don't have to even have an expressive skill of doing anything anymore? What do you see? I mean, what kind of trends do you see that when it comes to the implications on creativity as well?
Well, I mean, both of the things that you say to some extent are happening and will continue to happen. I mean, it is a good thing that probably more people have a first access to some creative activities. That's great. It's also artists really, they are very happy about having new technologies, new tools, as they always were in history. So that's fine. That's great. But on the other hand, of course, also human behavior always is changed in the course of time through the interaction with technology. So creativity will change when these technologies get more and more widespread and widely used in creative processes. Our way how we are creative, first on a very basic behavioral level, but later on also in cognitive processes, I mean, all these things will change over time. So that's both of these things will happen in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also interesting where you draw a line, because I mean, I was in a band for 20 years. We have a rock band, garage band kind of thing. And like we used, I mean, when we were doing our demos, me and the guitarist, I mean, we used like a computer software with a drum machine and a sequencer, and that was using a machine to produce music sounds for backing for us when we were doing demos, but we didn't consider it to be a hindrance for our creativity because we were using a drum machine. So I mean, there's always where you draw the line of what is too much machine and what is the pure enough sort of kind of thing. But what about the whole sort of discussion about when like Spotify like can more or less create its own music? I mean,
they can, or they could. The question is if users will accept it, and I think they will more and more try to test that out, because it might be an interesting business model, right?
Yeah. But will I, if I just push, because I have a playlist here that every Monday morning it populates. It's called like weekly releases or something like that, and it's full of kind of music that I kind of listened to previously. So it's like that. So. And most of the artists I've never heard about. It's just new stuff that comes to me every Monday. And to be honest, and since half of it is like electronic music, it's all of the instruments are computers, not analog instruments. I have no idea if it's human created or if it's machine created from the start. I mean, and so I don't know. And as a consumer, would I even notice it if Spotify said, well, let's start making our own music here. We can make more money because we don't need to pay any artists, and good riddance kind of thing. What do you think?
Well, aesthetically, probably not. I mean, the thing is that so far the previous attempt of Spotify to populate playlists with fake artists and things like that, I mean, they have been stopped basically by a combination of an outcry from the music industry and from users, because people were not so happy about that. Well, I mean, I don't think there's no problem in enjoying computer generated music through Spotify. I mean, computer generated music has been around for decades anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the mid of the 1960s, the Electron Music Studio in Stockholm was founded with exactly that kind of idea to completely generate music to arrive at a completely new music aesthetics. That's all fine. I mean, the question is just what will then happen to the income of artists if Spotify generates their own music, and where will that money go? That's an interesting question then. If the music is nice to listen to in principle, why not? But
it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting discussion on many sort of levels of abstraction as well, when it comes to what we are prepared to listen to or even experience, and when it comes to TV and plays and I mean, if you look at, we can do exactly the same example with like animated cartoons. And for many years I've been complaining about the very sort of noisy Japanese anime cartoons that have been streaming out of the TV with very screamy voices and things like that. But of course the kids love it. I would have probably loved it as well when I was a kid, so I won't say anything about that. But it's interesting to see that is also something that just as well could have been created from the start, generated by. I mean, now it's computer assisted. I know that, but I mean, I personally today can go to a service and I can more or less just tell the service what I want to see happen, and then it sort of, it creates an animation back to me. So, and that's the step from me telling it what to do to it actually doing it itself is, again, it feels like it's a kind of a small step. So I don't know. It's just an interesting discussion, I think, to have when it comes to where will we perceive it as a speed bump when the shift comes, or will it just be, oh, we didn't notice it happening, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, we kind of are in that phase right now, or in one of such a phase. If you look at what has happened over the last, 1, 2, 3 years, if you have a look at the image generation quality, I mean, what has happened there? I remember I generated the first promotion image for my ongoing research project on creative artificial intelligence with a Mid-Journey thing back then a few years ago. And oh my God, I mean, if you do that today, it looks, it's crazy, these giant steps that takes. But I mean, the cost behind that in various ways is also giant, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. We actually had a question before when it came to not only the environmental impact, but also the impact on all of these, the factories, the sweatshops of people who they're actually people, looking at images and their learning models is a lot about people teaching the computers. It's not only computerized. There's a lot of people being used and overused for this as well. So it's a huge implication that we haven't even touched upon in this conversation at all. Where we see a working class grow up in the sweatshops of today, which aren't textile factories, but they are computer factories and AI factories, which is another implication that we keep on not talking about, I think.
Yes, I mean, there have been books written about it already, but it's something that we like to, for some reason that we do not talk about very much. And obviously, it's not something that the large companies actively promote or reveal, right? It's just that there's a lot of dirty things happening in the political ecology of all these systems for us, in order to throw money into it, the companies prefer, of course, not to tell us these things.
Do you think we could fair trade AI, so you can say that this image has not used any human slave labor to be generated, and it is climate positive?
Well, I mean, let's say you could surely do that on the level of the company, that the company guarantees you that they do their necessary data cleaning under certain conditions that they openly document. I mean, why shouldn't that be possible? I mean, another thing is then, where did the data come from? That's yet another story, right? But the data that they scrapped from somewhere, I mean, that's another question. But
that's for episode 132. We can it's actually 14:59. I mean, this is it's a world's fastest half an hour. It's a wonderful coffee discussion that I get to have with so many incredible people. And I know I've had a bunch of people online. People are probably just sitting there with their mouth open, and that's why we're not getting questions. We usually get questions as well, but today people have just been probably listening so attentively. Anyway, if anybody wants to reach out to Andre, they can reach you on LinkedIn, of course. I've been tagging you on LinkedIn. This will be recorded, this will be saved down on YouTube, and also cut down to a short version that I'll be reposting on LinkedIn as well. Final words, Andre. Any sort of words to people out there, to the consumers of all of these AI services? What should we think about?
Well, demand from companies that you're using to be more transparent about the energy consumption, and be aware, like whatever company you use, if you don't pay money for it. You pay in other ways. I mean, that holds for all these AI tools as it does for social media stuff and so on, right?
Yeah.
So be aware of that. What is the data that you're giving, and do you want to give it?
Good. Thank you. Very good last point. And I just thank you, Karin. Great chat. It's really interesting to hear your thoughts on this project. Thank you, Karin, for adding that. With that, I will say thank you to everyone. Innovation Fika every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Swedish, with another interesting guest next week. Of course, I will be in San Francisco next week, so I have no idea where and when and who I will be talking to, but tune in this time. I will catch you online live. I will do my utmost to be there. Andre, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you, Donnie.
I will say goodbye for everyone, and I will see you all next week, and I'll see you online again. So have a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you very much.